Hey, I'm Tom,
And I'm Josh.
and you're watching the BlockCast.
We're Lego fans. Click.
Were you reading something?
Well, yeah,
We're trying to
we're in
do
a
the
book club,
intro.
remember?
Oh, yeah. If you're not familiar, what Josh was just reminding me is that we're supposed to be reading a book together. And our book club here at the BlockCast currently is. Oh, it's
It's a
it's a
mystery.
bad book. Give me one moment, everybody. Let me make sure I can
In
get
this
get
episode of Unnecessary Blurring.
unnecessary blurring. Uh, it is the Lego story How a Little Toy Sparked the World's Imagination.
By
Um,
Jens Anderson.
and so this is really an in-depth look at Ole Kirk Christiansen. Uh, and if you're unfamiliar with who that is, it's
That's why
the
you're here at the Blockcast.
that's literally why you're here. We're talking history today. We're talking the Lego story and the initial first two chapters and pretty much the beginning of Lego's origin. Are we going to be talking about plastic bricks today?
Yay!
Not
No.
as much as you might think. You'd be surprised. It's kind of it's an interesting beginning, as I'd like to say. It started with Ole Kirk Christiansen. He was born in 1891, and he was one of 13 kids. Um,
That's a there was not a lot to do before the advent of Lego brick. So you make kids instead of making Lego
ooh,
models.
I, true. They're a family-friendly show, everyone. 13 kids is a lot of kids, but you also have to remember the time period and growing up in Denmark. Um,
Winters were cold. Oh wait, sorry.
yeah, winters were very cold.
But not
And
at old Kirk's workshops.
no, because he was he started out
We'll get there. We'll get there.
somewhere. Um, it was a hard life for him and his 13 children. They grew up not with a lot of money, but immediately from the get-go, you know, it's not like it is today. And as you know, and we know that you pretty much took up a job the moment you could read, write, and speak, and maybe not even read. Um, and you worked for your family and you brought
Mhm.
up into trade or become an apprentice and immediately
Or
get thrust
farmhand, as was the case with old Kirk.
and get thrust into a job per
Mhm.
se. There was no time for play.
Right. Which is
Um,
very sad and really something that's kind of unfathomable. Um, and for someone to go from such meager beginnings, I find it interesting that the company that he would go on to create is all about play.
Mhm.
And how we got to that, I think is really fascinating. And you know, the book starts at the very beginning.
it
uh,
literally does. He's born into a family with 13, becomes a farmhand, and then at the age of 14 goes to become an apprentice at a woodworking craftsman
as a carpenter
as a
and
carpenter.
as a joiner.
And you are thrust into your career, and but you don't necessarily have a choice either. You can have the likeness of wanting to be what you are, but if it is needed within the community,
Mhm.
and based on what we've read, it was a very large, tight-knit religious community. Where you were needed is where you were thrust, where you were put in place because it was literally you had to fill the void.
Right.
That's what your purpose was.
And two, it wasn't an overly developed part of the country in Denmark that he was raised in. So there wasn't a lot of industry and that sort of thing. So the options were incredibly limited. It wasn't just a need; it was a limit of resources, a limit of potential uh, trades. Truly, for lack of a better word of what he could do. not necessarily based on skill or desire or anything like that.
There were no
It just
options.
was
There were no options for him.
for Ole Kirk
And it's interesting because you look at today, you have people that can, you go to high school, then you choose to go into a job, or you go into college, or you go into an apprenticeship, but it's
or
usually
an influencer.
yeah, what you want to do.
Lego, hit
Eh,
us up.
hey, we're here. Everybody subscribe. But it's the idea that he was thrust into a very hard life. Not only with that, but then once he finished and became a journeyman and he got his papers and he was certified by, you know, who he was an apprentice from, he then has to get thrust into military service
Hmm.
and
So
then go do all that. And then,
it, and this would be about the time I believe of World War One
yep.
is when he was enlisted and conscripted into the into military service.
And how rough World War One was because it was literally just trench warfare.
Hmm.
It was continuous trench warfare. Um, and that's not even from what we've read in the book. That's from watching so many different movies. I think the last one that I watched was 1912,
1917 was it? The
1917.
yeah,
Yeah.
the one that was like one tracking shot the
Yep.
entire time. Yeah.
That was just complete trench warfare. And,
Mhm.
that hurts you as a person, mentally from what you see. And being of his age, he was not even in his 20s yet. And he's already
Mhm.
experienced all these
No,
things. So he comes back from warfare and he decides to build not too far away from where he grew up, but where he was needed, in Billund, Denmark. It sounds a little bit familiar, Josh.
it does. I feel as though we have discussed Belund before.
Hmm. Can you guess what is the significance of Billund? Let us know in the comments down below, or if you're listening at home, message us. Tell us what is the significance of Billund at that point in time.
Or
Really
we'll
nothing.
pretend this is Dora the Explorer. What is the significance of Belund, everybody? That's right. It's where the Lego headquarters is located. Very
Wow.
good.
Um, so he starts to build his woodwork shop in Billund, and essentially begin his life, right? After doing
Yes.
as much as he's done, never really getting to enjoy his own life per se, because he's done so much of it so far.
Mhm.
Um,
But he did. I mean, I'm sure he enjoyed, uh, his life when he was able to get married, to Kirsten Sorensen.
and they had
Sorensen.
4 kids, which is not 13, but still four
Mm-mm.
is a good amount. Now remember, he started a woodworking shop, but it wasn't just toys. It was a carpentry shop. And what carpentry is essentially, I'm not going to explain carpentry to you. You know what carpentry is. But it's the idea that,
It
as
would
we
be a very
mentioned,
wooden delivery.
in the tight-knit community.
Sorry.
Oh boy.
No, I'm not.
Um, he would help around the community in any woodworking facet that was needed, from carpentry in terms of helping build the church to helping build people's bed frames, that was requested. Back then, it was, you didn't go into a store and buy furniture. You asked it to be built for you and what was needed. And that's where
Yes.
he came in. Everything was pretty much custom,
Right.
and he was building it all from eye.
And because of his apprenticeship, he had from the very beginning a very strong sense of quality. Like he was dedicated to providing high quality products. So whereas other craftsmen and tradesmen may have been able to do more in less time, he took time, devoted that time to making sure that what he was creating, the orders that he was fulfilling, were in fact high quality, long lasting product. And that would be something that we'll see carries on into his eventual toy making.
Correct. And now, as it would grow and as we would learn, which you're going to learn, um, carpentry also involves wood, and wood is highly. flammable.
Yes.
So this
Yes,
would
it is.
be I'm gonna call it the first instance of fire of his beloved workshop.
Can we throw up on the screen like a fire tracker?
Fire tracker. Because literally this is the first of what could potentially be many fires in his carpentry workshop, but his
Spoiler.
son started the fires.
Yep.
And
Good
not
old
only did
Carl
he,
George and Gottfried
and
accidentally started the fire that ultimately not only destroyed the workshop, but the family home as well. Fortunately, nobody in the family was injured in the fire, but
and
it was a major setback for a meager family who,
didn't earn a lot on a
and yeah,
single income, which the
mhm,
income wasn't necessarily always paid monetarily or at all.
we'll find.
And as we find, even pre-Great Depression, because we're about the fire happened in 1924, we would see the Great Depression happen in 1929. People within that small knit community couldn't pay, and it's not like you're gonna pay or else. It's a lot of like, oh, I'll owe you. But when everybody owes you and you can't pay for the materials that you're
A
building
lot
their
of
homes
IOUs
from,
going
it
around.
literally, he had to go door to door to collect. And when he would go there, they'd be like, would you take
No,
beans instead of cash?
if that, there were so many that were like, no, we have nothing for you.
And what is he going to do? How is it? He has no way of enforcing like getting paid, and his family is suffering and hurting. And then the Great Depression comes, and it gets so much worse.
And what's important to realize about Ole Kirk Christiansen is that he was at heart, I feel, an optimist. He believed the best in people, and he believed things would always work out. The book goes into pretty heavy detail about his faith,
Hmm.
and that comes into play a little bit later. But he had an understanding that things he had a vision for his life and what he wanted and what he would do, and money would come. And you just follow the dreams, money will come. Uh,
Literally,
but it didn't.
literally, as Josh points out in the book, it is very follow through on faith and believing that everything will turn out okay. And you look at certain things as it goes and it continues throughout and starts with the fire, and we'll learn something in just a moment. Um, but he's faced with such hard and trying times through the beginning of his life, from being born into a family of 13, going into war, going into an apprenticeship, coming out and struggling to find out that nobody wants to buy anything made of wood and not pay you. And then the Great Depression hits him like a rock. Nobody wants any furniture. Nobody wants any wood product. So he has to create consumer-based product, toys. Literally, he has to make toys to supplement his own furniture making business because he can't make enough selling furniture. But think, and this is something that I wanted to point out to you, Josh, to see if you notice this. Um, he's making toys for children like 1932.
Mhm.
What child, and literally, what child is playing with toys? They're
The
not.
lucky
They're
ones.
they're literally working like old did, and they don't have any time because they have a day job.
Mhm. And I think that's why the first successful toy really that they launched that really kind of caught on and started gaining notoriety for the company was a yo-yo.
Yep.
Simple yo-yo because children could have that in their pocket. So in between doing their chores, doing their tasks, whatever, it's something that they could pull out and play with for a little bit. And I imagine, it was a matter of convenience that that was the toy that was so popular at the time. And Old Kirk launched onto that. He was, I think, kind of have to go back here a little bit, but he's very much into what is the latest trend. He was at the forefront of whatever the newest technology is. He was one of the first two people to own an automobile. Um,
Yes.
in and one of the first to have a television, and he's very much on the up and up when it comes to what the latest and greatest new trends and technology and things are. And very
He
much like,
liked innovation.
yeah, and and that's something I think that we see time and time again with the great creators of our time. If you think about Ole Kirk, and you can draw so many parallels to other visionaries like Walt Disney and other innovators who just looked for how new technology could advance their own dreams, their own beliefs, their own ideas, that sort of thing. So Ole Kirk had this habit of wanting the best of the best and the newest stuff, whether he had money or not. So he would invest the money that he did not have. He would invest his IOUs in these technologies. He built this huge mansion that he didn't really need after the workshop burned down. He's like, well, we're going to rebuild it. Let's rebuild it bigger. Let's put some lion statues out front. This is going to be great. He's going to bring in new tools and equipment to make the workshop run more efficiently, which in theory is great. But he was running on IOUs. He had debts out from investors, but he himself was so deeply in debt because he would give IOUs to purchase all of these things. Very much like me and my
Literally, there was
Lego habit.
no money moving. There was no money in this
None.
equation.
No.
No,
It was not sustainable.
no, in no way. But it was such a borrow on credit situation. It was insane. Even for the yo-yos, he got into that trend a little bit later and had hundreds and hundreds of yo-yos that he had produced, so much so that he couldn't just, secondhand offload them wholesale, right? That's not a thing in Billund in 1932, you know. Um, he literally had to repurpose the yo-yos as wheels for the pull-along duck
Mhm.
and pull along little dog and pull along, other animals that he would put on a flat board and try to grow his business. But he literally had to reuse pieces and parts. But one thing that never suffered in terms of what he would always inspire his employees and his family that worked within his business, like he worked within his parents' business, was quality.
Mhm.
He noticed that some of his employees were painting on one coat of varnish and said, well, we can save the money if we only paint one coat. It's not about the one
Mhm.
coat. And this is what I like the most. It's about the quality that went into it. He says, when people play with this, I want them to know who made it and I want them to enjoy it for a very long time. So it
Mhm. And
lasts, but it also know that it won't break or falter.
and think about it too, right? These are products made out of wood. When you play with wood, it splinters,
Also catches on fire.
as we've learned. Because after rebuilding his workshop and investing in the new equipment, Tom, what happened?
Well, a devastating fire happens again in 1942.
Fire Trucker 2.
He just he can't he can't win with the fires. But the most important thing, and we'll backtrack just a little bit, when he creates the toy division of his company, which would ultimately become Lego. He had to name the toy division and his company. And so he held a contest amongst his employees. I can't remember the gift that he gave them or was going to give them if they had come up with the name. And the lucky employee that came up with the name, Josh, who was that?
That was somebody. I don't remember his name. It was not.
Do you want a hint?
Yeah, hint would be great.
It was Ole Kirk. He named it himself after holding
Oh
a
yeah, that's
contest
right.
for his whole
That's
thing.
right.
He literally he named it himself after holding a contest. Um, and it's actually based on a Danish phrase. of two words, leg and goat, spelled Godt. I might have pronounced that incorrectly, or the pronunciation might have been incorrect, so I do apologize. Which means to be play well. And one thing I want to focus on when we look at play well and the Lego name, this is the time period that children the generation prior to this generation. I'm talking 1930s children generation. Their parents are pushing for more. Granted, not all the parents are pushing for more childlike children,
Mhm.
meaning that the children should have a childhood and enjoy playing and learning and going to school and talking with other children and just playing. So the toy market was there, but it wasn't like you see a toy market today. They just didn't. There wasn't a child's category. Like it didn't exist. And these are some of, as Josh is pointing out here. You see the yo-yo wheels that they repurposed for the rolling animals.
And it was just a matter of they were pull along, animals, and that was the toy, that was the play. You created the stories. Maybe it was a pet that you were taking on a walk, or maybe it was something that was following you. It was a There was a push to allow children to explore their imagination. And I think that is an idea that really truly persists throughout the history of Lego. As we get into the book a little bit further, we our book club, the
You
BlockCast
should,
book
in the
block.
middle of this, as you should know, we have the BlockCast Book Club that you should
You can
join.
say that. Say it 3 times fast.
The BlockCast
BlockCast
Book
book club.
Club, BlockCast Book Club. All right, this is an intermission. You should totally join and subscribe somewhere here on your screen because we're fun and we like to do lots of things with Legos, including talk about books that we're reading about Lego. We do Lego challenges. We do an ultimate Lego leaderboard. We do the latest
Board.
in Lego reviews. But we also talk about Lego books. So please feel free to click that subscribe button, follow us on Instagram so you could even join our book club and read along with us.
Yay!
Okay, back to the story.
Books not included.
Yeah, correct. You have to buy your own book. Um, it's like batteries, not included. Um, so a devastating fire ultimately affects the Lego company, and guess what? He rebuilds again.
Again.
That won't be the last time. All right.
Nope, it's not.
It just never ends. So, Josh, you talked about innovation, and in 1947, what was the innovation that he brought to the Lego company?
Well, this was again right after the last fire. So at this point, it's got to be spinning in the back of his mind that maybe wood is not the product I want to continue to work with.
It's
um,
flammable, everybody.
but not only that, it is now we are post World War II, right? So supplies, resources throughout Europe are incredibly limited.
Yeah.
You got to imagine trees probably got blowed up. That it's very hard from an importing standpoint. You're not able to import wood, and again, he used the highest quality. He would not settle for the wood that was readily available. Um,
But
he used
he
a certain kind of beech wood and that sort of thing. So he started looking for other
he did see an
materials.
opportunity though, and this is just in addition to what Josh is saying.
Mhm.
And we're looking at 1943-ish now, 1944, and the market is changing, and the kids are now, becoming more childlike, granted not going to war. Um, the majority of Danish toys for children were imported from Germany.
Mhm.
So during the war, Germany needed all of its resources and no longer produced outbound goods for other countries, that they were utilizing all their resources for their own country. So a lot of Danish carpenters and masonry and anything in relation to what was imported saw an uptick in opportunity, and he saw opportunity in making toys for Denmark, not just Billund, but outside of blood.
Yes. And the at this point, his son had grown. He had become a vital part of the country. This is Gotthard, the one who burnt down the first factory, is
Not
now
on purpose.
a vital part uh, of the brand. And actually, I want to backtrack a little bit again. I want to mention Sophie
Oh, yes, yes,
Jorgensen.
yes.
So Ole Kirk, in addition to the fires, his first wife passed away
He's
while
very
the children were still
unfortunate
young.
in his life.
Um, his children say that they remember that, despite seeing their dad sad, he was never a bad dad. He would focus on them. He put a lot of attention on them, but he would use them for, cheap and free labor in his factory, as you do,
As his dad did
right?
to him.
Yeah, exactly. So Gotthard was a vital part of the company before it was officially Lego, but then he hired a nanny to help take care of the kids, to kind of do the housekeeping and things that you would do as he was trying to regrow the business.
She was very well liked
And
by the whole family, apparently.
except for Old Kirk at first, they had this contentious. It was an enemies to lovers story. So this book has it all, following all of the great romantic tropes. But eventually, Old Kirk did marry Sophie, and Sophie had a pretty substantial dowry at the time that gave Old Kirk the monetary means to expand that third time. But because he owed so much debt and so much to everyone, all of those IOUs still floating around,
He couldn't
um,
do it a third time.
the company was all in Sophie's name. It was all
Yep.
hers. So the first real owner of the Lego company, Sophie Jorgensen,
Yep. Not Ole Kirk.
not Old Kirk,
Nope.
Sophie.
Correct. So
I think
thanks,
that was
Sophie.
fascinating.
Be sure to thank
And
Sophie for your Lego.
so I think that fantastic. He found love. We're happy for him. Good old Kirk. You got it. But he also found the means to start making his dreams come true. He had said that he had seen in a vision from God that he had this spectacular factory, and it was during this period of regrowth, at following the war, where he start to visualize that vision coming to life for him. This was before fire number 3, by the way. Uh,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. This is
Yep.
before the third fire. Yep,
Yes.
there's the third
But
fire. Hold on, we're getting there.
we're getting there.
We're getting
Fire
there.
tracker still at 2. Uh, but anyway, end of World War II. Can't get wood. Starts looking into other means to start delivering toys to all around Denmark, because imports from other countries aren't happening. Plastic.
Plastic.
Plastic seems to be the key, and this is all part of the idea. The need to find something else was because of the peace pistol. Now, Tom, you haven't gotten to chapter 3, so this is something that I can't wait to talk more about.
I just want to let you know. We're not talking about chapter 3 in this episode, everybody. Josh is just ahead of the curve. I just
I'm
haven't
just
gotten there
setting
yet.
this up. I love the idea that the reason that we move to plastic is because of the peace pistol. And that's peace, Peace.
We'll get there. I don't know anything about that yet. And he's being preemptive over there in that box. But 1947 rolls around, and now that he has the funding, he invests in a plastic injecting
Please
molding
don't.
machine. No, he don't ingest Lego. It's bad for you. It is not food.
No.
Stepping on it also hurts. And
Lego
so
is friends, not food.
he starts to think of ideas, and his son Godfrey starts to think of ideas of what to use the injection molding machine. And in 1949, they come up with the interlocking brick system, which is a series of bricks, very plain, very simplistic, that literally block together. and you can form whatever you want with them. But that's
But
plastic.
in typical Ole Kirk fashion, he doesn't get one molding machine. He
No.
orders one, but he ordered it from Great Britain, and it was supposed to come in August. It was delayed to November. He was concerned about getting it in time to make products for Christmas, but it didn't happen. So what do? You buy a second one
Yep.
from the Americans. So not only does he have all of the materials and resources that he needs for when he receives his molding machine. He has two orders out for two molding machines that haven't come in yet. It's sitting, it's collecting dust, and Ole Kirk is just waiting for that opportunity to go. But he's got the resources, not necessarily the means yet, and he's got an idea. And that is bringing us up to the end of chapter 2.
It is. And so we hit about there at the end of chapter 2. Haven't gotten to the fire yet. We'll get there. There's always
Mm-hmm.
another one. But that's where we are. Olkirk has bought the injection molding machine. They are pre-testing it, getting it ready for the holidays. They are still producing wooden toys at the same time as the brick. But I need to emphasize, he's not a huge toy manufacturer at this point. He's still small. And the only thing that is giving him an advantage is that Germany is not importing toys. But he sees his opportunity. He finds the interlocking brick system. But now how does he apply it? And here's a little bit of a hint. It's interesting. He goes, "What if we were to do wood and plastic together in play sets?"
What? No way.
Eventually we'll get back there. We'll have the interlocking wooden brick system because
I
then
think
you
we're
could throw it
pulling
away.
things in that aren't in the book just yet.
True, true. I digress. I
We're
digress.
excited.
I'm just excited. I haven't made it to chapter 3, but I know the natural progression of where Lego goes.
Let go go.
Lego go. So, that's
Is
where
that
we
French?
are with Lego history thus far. Olkirk?
Not super lucky
No. Really? Poor guy. Two fires. His wife
so
passes
far.
away. He has a lot of kids, but he also like suffered as a kid with 12 other siblings and probably having to work on a farm every single day from sunup to sundown, getting
Two world
enrolled,
wars.
2 world wars, having to go to become a craftsman where he's probably doing hard labor under as an apprentice, because you're doing all the stuff that the master carpenter doesn't want to do. Getting to go through trench warfare in World War One, coming out and starting a family, your wife passes away, and then World War Two. Well, no, the Great Depression. Then your wife a fire. Then your wife passes away. Then all your business opportunities taken away by World War Two, and everybody IOUs you. This poor man. I'm telling you, people.
With all of that context, the minifig face really kind of looks sad. It's like, oh,
Like if you
truly a painted on smile through most of Old Kirk's life, it seems.
it he always he was a man of faith, had the faith, but really always had cloudy days. Like constant cloudy days. It really
And maybe
never
that's the mark of true faith. Who
ah,
can say?
ah
But his persistence is impressive. His ideas, uh,
his,
I would say that they were,
he's,
revolutionary.
he stuck
I
to his
think that,
guns.
you know, and that devotion to quality
Yeah,
ultimately is a mark of the kind of man he was.
he's gonna wear without. But
Mhm.
we're not done yet. So,
Mm-mm.
Josh, show him again what book we're reading. We're reading The Lego
The Lego
Story.
Story: How a Little Toy Sparked the World's Imagination. Imagination.
Imagination. If you'd like to join us, feel free. I'll show you the barcode on the back so you can find it on Amazon. Go ahead, type in those numbers right there, or the ISBN.
Or
Um,
your local independently owned bookstore.
correct. Um, join us in reading. We'd love to have you on to talk about it. Message us on Instagram if you are reading this. Um, don't
Or have read
for
it.
don't forget to, you know what, Josh, tell them what they need to do.
You need to like, you need to subscribe, and you need to comment and let us know if you're reading along with us so that we can continue this conversation in the comments.
Yeah. Also, if you have any friends that enjoy and love reading,
Mhm. Or Lego.
introduce them to this book and us by
It's
subscribing.
great. It has pictures.
We are technically now a Lego Bookstagram.
Literally no page I showed had pictures. There's one.
Words are
Yeah,
hard, but we are now a Lego
some of it's in
Bookstagram.
Danish.
But we will learn Danish by the end of this. But no, so we are gonna come back and do a little bit more of our book club, reading the next couple chapters, maybe chapter, and bringing it back and letting you know what we've learned. Granted, we know the baseline history of Lego, but we're really learning a little bit more about literally the people that helped
And the
bring
fires.
Lego to life. A lot of fire, so much fire, um, so much fire. Don't forget to subscribe, everybody, because with that. My name's Tom,
And I'm Josh.
and you have been enjoying the BlockCast.
We're Lego fans. Click.
Bye, everybody.
Take care.